Hey guys, Larry C here. I want to tell you a funny story. So yesterday I went to the library, and when I went up to the librarian, I asked her where she kept her books on paranoia, and she looked up at me and said, "Shh, they're right behind you." Am I cooked, chat? Shout out to you all. Boss up. Let's enjoy the video.
Come on now, dog. Come on, man.
What's going on, everybody? It's Mr. C here. Shout out to the Stat Cats. I hope you're ready to boss up in this video. In this video, I'm going to show you how to create a grading rationale for a course, specifically a college level course, because I teach college level courses, particularly math classes. And I figured I'd kind of give you some tips and tricks on how you can do that. Now, first thing out of the gate I want to say is that this is going to largely depend on your department guidelines for you. At the college I teach at, we have a very involved and smart set of math instructors, and we're very collaborative, and we spend a lot of time on departmental policies, and you'll get a flavor of some of those on this page when I get into it. And you want to make sure you adhere to those, but also kind of keep in mind that there actually is some room for some creative ways in which to have students generate points to their final or to their overall grade. All right, so I'll take you through what I've developed over the years and what I plan to do this upcoming semester. Without further ado, let's jump right in. Okay, so we're going to do a grading rationale build, and this is going to be for my Math 122 elementary statistics course. Let's leave it at that. And what I have here is a screen clipping from the generic course syllabus. I'll read you some of the stipulations here. Okay, so I have stipulations. Homework will be assigned on a regular basis and must be completed to adequately learn the material, as well as prepare for exams. Homework may count as part of the course grade, so that leaves it wide open. You can either assign it and not have it count towards your grade, or you can assign it and have it count towards the grade, or you even have the option to not assign any homework at all, which I highly advise against. Okay. Another requirement or stipulation is that there are a minimum of 4. This is going to be for fall, so I'll skip this part. A minimum of 4 proctored closed book exams will be given in addition to the cumulative final exam. So that's 5 exams total. 4 of them are going to be unit exams, and the 5th exam is going to be the final exam, which covers the entire course. Now, it says a minimum of 4 proctored closed book exams. So you could actually give 5 exams and then the final exam, or you can give 6 exams and the final exam. So there's some flexibility there. But of course, you want to be careful about timing, okay, because exams require review days and exams take up class time, all right? I usually just stick with 4 and the final exam. Closed book for us means that students are not allowed to bring in outside materials, such as formula sheets or note cards. Of course, none of the electronics like the Meta glasses or AirPods or cell phones are allowed to be used on that. I also tell them that Nintendo Switches, popcorn machines, lawnmowers, they can't be used on the exams either. All right. And they're limited to 1 hour. Now, the only exception to this is that the final exam can be completed in, let's say, a 2-hour time frame, 1 hour, 50 minutes. Announced or unannounced quizzes may be given, so you can choose to give quizzes or you can choose not to give quizzes. It says comprehensive closed book final exam will be given, so that's kind of redundant, but must be taken for course credit. Okay. The final exam will be in class proctored in time. The final exam counts a minimum of 20% of the course grade. So you are absolutely not allowed to ever go underneath 20% of the course grade for your final exam. Okay. Now, here are some of the things that are not penned down that we still have to abide by, at least in my department. If we are collecting homework and counting it towards the grade, we have to cap it at the value that a unit exam is worth. So for me, that's going to be 100 points. So homework cannot contribute more than 100 points, officially 100 points toward the final grade for the student. Also, there's a requirement that proctored assessments, which means that you're the one administering the exams or quizzes in class, they must count at least 75% of the course grade. All right. I would keep it between 75 and 80 in my opinion. Attendance is not allowed to be part of the grade. So there's actually a workaround to that if you assign participation points. Okay, so that's kind of a hack. We are allowed to give extra credit points in our classes, but it's capped at 5% of the overall course grade. Okay? Now, it doesn't say what these extra credit opportunities come from. And, you know, in kind of a different scenario, you don't even have to give extra credit. Now, if you do give extra credit, it's probably wise to let your students know that. Also, make sure you tell them that you're capped at 5%. So if you got students at the end of the semester, you know, asking you to round their 35% to a 90%, and, you know, they've already earned the 5% bonus points, we at least have this policy to back us up. They will try that, by the way. Okay, so taking all this into account, there was a couple summers ago where I really racked my brain trying to figure out a good balance to all this. If you just stick with exams for your course, it's probably not going to be a very effective course for you. And it's going to create a lot of anxiety for students because really there's only 5 assessments that make up their grade. So that's why I recommend including at least homework as part of the grade towards your course. And if you can throw in some other, you know, options for students to get points from, that's going to lower their anxiety, leaves you a little bit of academic freedom, creativity, to really sort of jazz up the course and give them a good experience. So what I usually do is create an Excel file, and I'll explain what everything is here. So this is basically what's going to be making up the student's course grade. Something I'm trying this semester are data days, in which case we do group work investigating data for a few of the units. So there are going to be 3 of those, and I decided to make the points total for each of these 20. So if you multiply 3 times 20, you get 60, okay? Now, if you look over to the right, I have a different total column, and you'll see that 55 is assigned as the official points towards the overall grade. So here's something that I do in my courses, okay? Now, if you do 3 times 20, you're not going to get 55, and you're thinking the math is not mathin', but wait a minute, okay? Any scores above 55 are going to help students earn some extra credit points. So theoretically, they could get 60 points from doing data days, and in which case, if they maximize that, they're going to get 5 points extra credit. Okay, so I cap it at 55. That's basically what I'm saying. I'm also going to be doing homework. MOM stands for My Open Math. Okay, I'm going to be using that LMS for the homework platform. And I'm going to do 9 homework collections. Okay, so some of these collections are going to be, you know, just for one chapter, maybe a couple of chapters at once. And I decided to count those as 12.5 each, and you'll see why, okay? If you multiply 9 times 12.5, you get 112.5. But again, I'm capping at 100. Now check this out. This does not violate this stipulation that homework cannot count more than the total of 1 unit exam. All right, so that's kind of my workaround to it. Okay, so as an added bonus, students could rack up 12.5 additional extra credit points from this. So this is going to be really helpful for the students and give them some peace of mind, knowing that if they just do the regular work for the course, they already have the potential to boost their grade up by 2% at the end of the semester by earning up to 17.5 extra credit points. All right, so that will also allow you to have a more it's a firm set of guidelines for late homework. You know, I'm going to be giving them some late passes for some of the items that are homework, but, you know, anything beyond that, you can just, you know, tell them that, well, you know, some of these problem sets are going to be counted, or some points that you earn from it can be, let me phrase it this way, you can earn extra credit by completing the problem sets, so there really is no need to give you more or drop the lowest score on one of these. So, you know, you can kind of, you know, give them some ease about that. I am going to be counting participation out of 45 points, and I honestly am still thinking about what this will entail. Some of the things I have in mind are attending all the review days for the course, you know, their participation in the data days, maybe doing some Kahoots, or just like some onesie twosie here and there ski in class problems to work on. And you'll see why this is helpful for me, but there's not going to be any cap on the participation points. Then we have the exams, which I'm going to be giving 4 unit exams, so 4 times 100 is 400. All right, and I'm not capping any points on that. And I'm going to have one final exam counting 200 points, and I'm not capping on that. Okay, no cap. So over here, you'll see the individual contributions percentages towards the final grade. Now, if you add all this up together, you're going to get 800. All right. So it's a real simple basic math here. I got 7% by taking 55 and dividing it by 800. I got 13% from homework by doing 100 divided by 800. 6% from participation by doing 45 over 800, and so on and so forth. And you can see all these add up cleanly to 100%. Now I have a separate row calculation here because I need to abide by this stipulation that proctored assessments have to count at least 75% of the course grade. So technically this means 75% or more. Which means that 75% is a valid level of proctored assessments for the course. So you can see that comes from 50% plus 25%. Now, you know, participation will, you know, be proctored by me. Data days will be proctored by me too, but they're not the same flavor as like quizzes, exams, and the final exam. So I'm not going to count those as proctored. So we have everything satisfied so far. Now, the final exam, this is going to be counting as 25%, which meets this requirement. The final exam must count a minimum of 20% of the course grade. I try my best to get it as far down to 20% as I can, but when you start to do that with a setup like this, you start messing around with these percentages, your proctored amount might go down. So for example, if I did 150, you know, the final exam counts as 20%, but now I've kind of screwed myself over here by lowering the percent of proctored points counting towards the grade. Now, if you just do the bare minimum here, I believe the final exam is going to count as like 27 or 28%, which that to me is quite inflated. To be honest with you, if I could have this be lower than 25%, I would. But like I said, it's going to kind of throw off the balance of everything else. So this is about as high as I personally like to go in terms of the final exam, counting to the overall course grade. Anything higher is just a little unfair in my opinion. And all of the stuff is just, you know, programmed with basic formulas in the, you know, taskbar here or the formula bar. If you're interested in, you know, this Excel file, I'd be happy to send it to you. Just let me know in the comments below. Over to the left, here's where I'm parsing out what my extra credit is going to be based upon. So 40, they have a possibility of earning up to 40 bonus points, but nothing more, because that would break the 5% rule of bonus points, okay? Now, if they do everything and get perfect scores on the data-days and the MyOpen Math homework, then it's kind of like they're getting an automatic 17.5 points from extra credit. So this leaves me some wiggle room to give more extra credit, specifically 23 points extra credit. Actually, 22.5, that should be. Let's get around it to 23. Let me just bump that up here. So if I combine all of these, that's going to give me, actually, no. If I add these two together, that gives me a sum of 40. So 17.5, just assume that they've maximized their earnings on that. So it leaves you with 22.5 bonus points to play around with. Now, usually I give bonus points when they do practice exams and earn a score of 85% on a single attempt. There's usually a final exam review session our tutoring center hosts towards the end of the semester, and if students attend for at least 1 hour, I assign them 5 bonus points. I usually have them do a personal intro at the start of the semester, which I'm going to count as 1.5 points if they do that. And then this is something that I have a previous video on, Mr. C's Casino. I think I'm going to have to cap that at 4 points. And if I have all this spelled out and added correctly, that gives me the remaining 40 points, aka 22.5 points, in which they can earn to maximize the 5% bonus point rule. Okay, so going back to this setup, I recommend doing a little more than just the unit exams and the final exam. You want to give them a variety of ways in which they can earn points towards the overall grade, because you are going to have students that might be bad test takers, and so they might not be like 100% accurate in terms of demonstrating their ability with the material teaching, but perhaps, they can make up for that by participating in the data-days, or, they can demonstrate that via the route of the homework. All right, so I kind of like to give a variety of avenues in which students can earn their points towards their overall grade. I hope that's all making sense. And that's going to be it for this video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you have any questions or some feedback, feel free to drop it down in the comments. If you want any of this material, feel free to let me know. I'll send it to you. And in the meantime, let's keep bossing up, Stat Cats. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you next time. Take it easy. Let's keep bossing up. Dabtastic.